Story 1. I've always said my depression is like a warm bath in a cold bathroom. I know I need to get out and will feel better when I do, but I just can't bring myself to take the necessary steps right now. So I'll just turn the warm water on and stay there a little longer. It consumes me and takes over everything. Everything feels dull. Story 2. An infinite sadness and an inexplicable pain in the heart that cannot be cured by anything, as even the activities you engage in or the achievements you attain do not bring fulfillment. Story 3. I honestly don't care about anything. I broke my hand not long ago and simply wasn't interested in it. Did it hurt? Yes, of course. But I didn't care enough to get any painkillers or go see a doctor. I knew it was broken and the consequences of ignoring it. It wasn't worth my attention. I have free private medical care. It would have cost me virtually nothing to get it checked. I only went weeks later after expressing pain in front of 100 people and because my plans got canceled. Boredom and curiosity played a role. My doctor even asked what medications I was on to be so unaffected by the pain. I hadn't taken anything. My own pain didn't even matter to me, and it's like that about most things in my life. Story 4. No sleep or sleeping too much. House chores? Not interested. Showering? No. Calling friends and family? No. Going out? You are lucky if you can get out of bed. Personal activities like reading or watching a new TV show? Absolutely no energy for that. Crying or feeling sad? Almost every day. Caring about anything such as paying bills, buying food, or how others may feel. Switched off. Fear that you will stay like this. Massive. Help is available. You don't have to feel this way. Story 5. It feels heavy, like you're carrying the world, and nothing seems to help. It makes me question my existence because this is not living. Story 6. Apathy, emotional numbness, and an absence of all emotions other than slight shame, physical disgust, and minor frustration. The existential dread of amounting to nothing no matter how hard I try has become background noise. I have accepted that I am worthless, and it doesn't hurt. I do not want to die, but the idea of death does not scare me anymore. I exist only to stimulate myself and pass time, never truly enjoying or feeling joy from anything. I can sum it up in a single sentence. I feel nothing because I am nothing. Story 7. I feel like a bystander in my own life, constantly thinking about past mistakes while being anxious about the future. I am aimless, not truly living but merely existing. I avoid relationships because they often fall for me, yet I end up breaking their hearts due to my mental struggles. This leads me into a deeper depression because I hurt someone I care about. I fantasize about voluntary euthanasia, but I could never surrender my cat. Each day feels like a routine, filled with darkness and melancholy. I spend too much time asleep, experiencing an immediate rush of despair upon waking. I feel loveless. Story 8. Waking up on a beautiful sunny day, I find myself wanting to do anything other than nothing. I sleep to pass the time, only waking up to eat and use the restroom. All my hobbies and activities that once brought me joy stopped providing that feel-good sensation years ago. Story 9. It feels like something is pulling me. Even though I know the things that could help me, I still can't escape this situation. Most of the time, I feel sluggish, but then I experience a burst of motivation for a short period. I promise myself that tomorrow I will definitely do something to change my life. But then I wake up, the trauma sets in, and I find myself back at zero with no energy to engage in life. I have been trapped in this cycle for years, and I don't know how to break free. Story 10. Knowing what you want and understanding what it would take to achieve it, while lacking the willpower to take action, leads to a cycle of desire without fulfillment. This applies to various aspects of life, such as getting out of bed, spending time with friends and family, or exercising. The list goes on. Story 11. Being tired all the time. Not tired enough to sleep, but too tired to do anything besides lie around. I am also not excited about anything anymore. Story 12. That's what clinical depression is. Your brain does not produce happy chemicals. There is no reward system. You do the absolute minimum to keep functioning at a very low level. Story 13. Loss of desire, loss of ambition, loss of confidence, and low self-esteem make asking for help a significant challenge because it raises the question of why I deserve that. This is just a few of the experiences I have encountered. It also feels lonely because people tend to leave you alone, whether slowly or quickly. There is probably some instinct at play. Story 14. When I feel depressed, I find that nothing matters, and even small tasks like brushing my teeth or showering become overwhelming. I lose interest in leaving the house or participating in activities I usually enjoy. I isolate myself from others and have negative thoughts. I am fortunate that my condition has been managed with medication. Story 15. Like nothing matters. There is no excitement anymore, and you only see darkness in front of you, as if you have no future or hope. Story 16. I am exhausted, both physically and mentally. I could sleep for days and still not feel any energy. Story 17. The following quote from a book I read recently resonated with me as I tried to describe the feeling. I sat there for a long time, trying to locate myself again. The feeling of not being there anymore, not elsewhere, not anywhere, followed by a slow wave of despair. Story 18. Heavy. Numb. I can't relax, but I can't focus either. Every life experience passes by without the ability to savor or even comprehend it. Story 19. It feels like an entity possessing me. I feel it creeping in, and I visualize it as a shadow turning my insides from light to dark. I still have a tough time brushing it off as it comes in, but I'm getting better at identifying the moments when I feel like it's about to control my life again. Once it's in control, I lose hope, joy, and the ability to laugh. I focus on the worst things in my life, my regrets, and past failures. May that depression remain gone. Story 20. Sluggishness feels like an unmovable weight on my chest, and every breath is more painful than the last. When I enter an episode, all I want to do is hide in bed and disappear. Story 21. I keep saying I'm so tired. No matter how much I sleep or rest, I'm always exhausted. My heart and soul feel worn out. Story 22. I describe it like this. When it starts to creep up on me, it feels like I am digging a hole. Over time, the hole gets larger and deeper, and then I fall in. I have dug it so deep that I have given up on trying to get out. Story 23. Numbing out after feeling scared and not wanting to talk leads to avoidance and retreating from social life. Sadness suddenly overwhelms me as I am reminded of certain things, making me prone to crying easily. I feel like I could cry twice a day every day for a week, but I hold back. This arguably makes it worse, as I bottle up my emotions and try to avoid thinking about them. Story 24. Nothing sounds enjoyable anymore in my home. Any activity feels excruciatingly boring and dull. I just want to escape and do things that don't require me to think. Story 25. Why am I doing what I am doing right now? I am not tired, but I want to go back to sleep. Is there a video game that could keep me distracted for 16 hours today? What would happen if I drove into the sidewall on this bridge? Story 26. I feel sad, and each morning when I wake up, I grab a mask from my bedside table and put it on for the day, placing it back every night. It also feels lonely. I know others must feel the same, but perhaps we are just good at hiding it. It feels like I am the only one. Story 27. I am feeling bored with everything and wanting some excitement, but I don't know how to find it. Even the thought of being depressed feels uninteresting. I can't quite explain it, but I feel indifferent. Story 28. You feel as though you are losing yourself and searching for your true self everywhere, but you can't seem to find it. Story 29. Nothing excites me anymore. All of my hobbies feel pointless. My body feels heavy, and getting up to do things seems impossible. It feels like no one in the world truly likes or cares about me, and I feel annoying to them. This isolation leads to a continuous cycle. Story 30. I want to leave everyone, everything, and anything behind. Nothing excites me much anymore. I face every situation without questioning it. I want to confess my love but am scared of ruining someone else's life. I do have money, and I know how to spend it. It's just that nothing brings back the old me who was truly happy. Story 31. Feeling tired all the time and rarely feeling happy or excited. Loneliness has been and still is a big part of my life. I'm just so tired of everything and wish I could stop because I hate what I have to do every day just to be able to live. I honestly forgot what better feels like. Story 32. A general sense of inconvenience surrounds me. Everything feels like a hassle. I would rather be in bed alone, feeling unproductive. However, people depend on me, and it is not their fault that I struggle, so I get up and fulfill my responsibilities. Unfortunately, I do not enjoy anything and feel genuinely happy for probably fewer than 24 hours each year, in brief, fleeting moments. Story 33. No real highs, no real lows, just an ever-present numbness. I am trying to recapture a nostalgic sense of wonder by immersing myself in the same games and movies I loved as a child, but it's just not the same. There is no real energy or motivation to pursue anything new in terms of hobbies. Story 34. As a 22-year-old man living in America, I feel both everything and nothing. The media tells me I need to be angry. My college encourages me to look toward the future. My parents genuinely love me and want nothing but the best for me, and even they recognize how difficult everything is regarding the future. I constantly hear older people telling me that I just need to work hard and save as much money as I can, when I genuinely worry that the money I'm saving will be worthless in 10 years. Meanwhile, the people in charge of this country, on all sides of the political spectrum, seem to have one main goal in mind: dividing and distracting the masses from the real issues at hand. America is $33 trillion in debt to both the world and itself. Yet, for the past 10 years, the news and social media have focused on one thing: woke versus anti-woke. Trump is a rapist. Democrats support abortion. We need to give another $20 billion to Israel to bomb Palestinian children. We need to give Ukraine another $100 billion so they can attack Russians. I've gotten past the point of caring about any of it. I've accepted that I will never get to retire before I die, because the money needed for that will likely not exist by that time. The people in charge will get richer, the poor will suffer more, the gap will widen, and nothing will change. Sometimes I feel like I'm a spectator in a game, watching someone else's perspective. Other times, I feel like nothing is real, and this could all be some elaborate dream that a greater being is having, and it could all end in an instant. It's hard to find any reason to keep going, but the few I do have are: I don't want to put my family through the pain of losing a fifth person to suicide. I don't want to leave this world without using all the time I have here. I want to find a woman to love, not for her body or mind, but for her soul and for her to feel the same way. I want to have a family. I want to raise my children with the knowledge my parents passed down to me, and to know that the next generation could try to amend the mistakes of their forefathers. Lastly, I genuinely want to find my own passion in life and to die without feeling regret or remorse for the things I didn't do. I want to live, but I don't want to live purely for the sake of being alive. I just wish more people I know felt the same way. Story 35. Emptiness. I have no feelings, only numbness. I have no desire to do what I used to enjoy. I am barely getting through the days. Story 36. Mental death. There is no excitement or joy in anything, always feeling tired or exhausted, not wanting to die but rather simply not wanting to exist. Story 37. A gray, blurred fog hangs over the most beautiful horizon you can imagine. Not being able to feel good in such a peaceful moment hurts deeply in the heart. When I was depressed, I couldn't believe I could feel normal again. I felt trapped in a moment of pain forever and alone. Thankfully, I overcame it, but I still get scared when that feeling creeps up my neck. I know it doesn't stand a chance anymore because the strategies and behavioral patterns I learned have changed. Stay strong. Story 38. It feels like you are underwater and being held down with no way to reach the surface for air. Story 39. My body feels heavy every day when I pull myself out of bed and force myself to keep going. There is no joy. Life feels like a chore, and I am always burnt out. Story 40. It feels like an invisible 250-pound weight is crushing your entire body, and everything you manage to do drains you from the sheer exhaustion of having to lift that weight while performing any task. That weight is also equipped with speakers blaring a constant stream of your insecurities and fears, always reminding you that you may never be normal again. Since this is all invisible, everyone just thinks you are lazy and overly dramatic. Story 41. There is a lot of crying, no motivation, and using food for comfort. I am showering as little as possible and feel stuck in the house, wearing the same baggy, dirty clothes. I find myself endlessly scrolling through social media. Story 42. It makes small things seem impossible. It erodes faith in society daily, occasionally accompanied by a touch of manic happiness. Story 43. It's like carrying around an invisible backpack filled with bricks, but no one can see it, so they think you are just lazy. Story 44. No joy, no motivation. I feel like Sisyphus on random days. I sleep too long. I am forgetful of chores and hygiene. I experience brain fog. I dislike getting out of bed. Story 45. Like being smothered by something you cannot see coming. It can be paralyzing both physically and mentally. You just have to keep fighting for a moment to break free for a few hours and eventually battle it until it subsides. Story 46. It feels like a burden. Moving requires more effort because my arms and legs feel heavy. Thinking is challenging because my thoughts weigh me down. Doing anything demands more energy than it should. It feels as though I am constantly pushing a boulder uphill while society expects me to accomplish all the tasks a typical adult should manage. Can't you see I'm already struggling to push this boulder? Story 47. You're struggling to keep your head above water with a heavy burden weighing you down. When something nice happens or you manage to lose 10 pounds from that burden, the relief you feel is short-lived, as another 15 pounds get added soon after. Story 48. Mild emptiness, pointlessness, and fear. It sometimes feels like someone is standing on my brain, pinning me down, and I can't get my mind to stand up, but that feels closer to panic. Story 49. Pointlessness that goes against logic. I know there are tasks that need to be done, and I know how to accomplish them, but why even bother if you still feel bad? Story 50. Endless apathy where nothing excites you anymore. Paralysis. Feeling stuck and unable to move forward. Dark emptiness. Like being trapped in a room without light. Emotional numbness where even pain feels irrelevant. Physical weight, heavy limbs, sluggishness, and breath that feels like a chore. Concrete in your mind and shoes. Each step feels impossibly hard. For many, it is not sadness but the absence of feeling. A hollow space where hope once lived. If you or someone you know is struggling, reaching out can make a difference. Story 51. It's strange. Sometimes I feel fine and can generally enjoy myself. Other times it feels bleak and hopeless. I just go through the motions. I can still remember times in my life when depression wasn't an issue. I was content and felt loved. I try not to dwell on those times, as getting stuck in the past doesn't help. I reflect on them occasionally to remind myself that things can change and to not give up hope. Keeping a gratitude journal helps. Story 52. I am no longer as interested in pastimes that I once anticipated. I find myself bursting into tears, pacing the floor, and staring into space. Story 53. Overthinking, wondering if the world is better without me, questioning if I have done anything right or made anyone happy. Story 54. I don't care. I have no desire for anything. Nothing seems to interest me at all. I'm feeling that way right now after having an argument with my estranged wife a few hours ago. Story 55. I feel empty and withdrawn. I second-guess myself and often stop trying. I feel very tired. Story 56. I'm floating on a self-made island of trash and rubbish through a pitch-black swamp. There is no light or stars above me, and sometimes black tendrils reach out of the water and try to grab me. Most days, I can evade them, but then there are days when I see the monster. A massive black, amorphous maw filled with razor-sharp teeth and eyes as black as the void. Story 57. I go to work, school, and the gym daily, which is perfectly fine. However, I don't get excited about trips, concerts, or anything anymore. I don't feel happy. I mostly feel numb. Story 58. It feels like someone is sitting on my chest, and I can't find the energy to move. My head is constantly screaming at me, making me feel like crying and hiding. Everything I do feels like a chore, from standing up to brushing my teeth to eating. Story 59. Apathy definitely affects me. I feel tired all the time, lacking motivation or excitement, as mentioned earlier. However, the severity of my apathy causes me actual physical pain, or at least the sensation of it. On particularly bad days, it feels as though there are meat hooks in my gut, tearing me open. I do not like it. Story 60. There is a complete lack of motivation to do anything. It feels as if you know what you are doing is wrong, but every time you try to escape, it pulls you back down. After a while, you just carry on through the cycle. You have a burst of motivation, feel better for a while, and then it hits you again. This repeats endlessly, leaving you feeling trapped with no idea how to break free. That's my experience, anyway. Story 61. I have this wonderful machine with boundless capabilities, but occasionally it stops working properly. If you were to compare it to a car, the engine is revving at its limit, but it can't get out of first gear. Then one by one, the cylinders stop firing, so even if it could shift gears, it still wouldn't get very far. Consumes more fuel, produces a lot of noise, and envelopes everything in smoke. The only way to fix it is to wait it out and hope it starts functioning better on its own. There are many potential fixes like additives and costly mechanics who listen to your explanations about how it performs poorly and make suggestions on how you might improve its performance yourself. Story 62. Most of the time, it feels like nothing and everything all at once. I feel both numb and overwhelmed simultaneously. Story 63. A black hole feels like my solar plexus has turned into one, and its heaviness swallows everything around it. Story 64. Nothing excites me. Everything feels pointless. My body feels heavy, and my mind is more cluttered than usual. I just want to sit and mindlessly scroll on my phone because I can't focus for more than a few seconds at a time. Story 65. A heaviness surrounds everything. My mind tells me that nothing matters and no one cares. I feel like I could disappear and people wouldn't notice or would be better off without me. Nothing excites me anymore. Reaching goals only intensifies my sense of imposter syndrome. I hesitate to discuss my feelings with others because I often receive that pitiful look, and their reassurances feel insincere, as if they're just saying what's expected of them. Story 66. It feels like the entire world is against me. It seems that nothing matters and nothing has any substance. It feels as though there is no excitement in the world. Story 67. Have you ever been sick with the flu or COVID-19? Something that is pretty miserable for several days, but not so bad that you have to go to the hospital? On day 4 or so, around mid-morning, you find yourself on the couch. You've slept as much as you can, and there is no more sleep to be had. You don't want to be on the couch anymore, but nowhere else would be any better. Your sense of time feels strange because you haven't had any exercise or been outside, but both of those activities feel impossibly hard. It's a little like that. Story 68. I had 2 construction companies come in on separate days and made phone calls with my doctor for medication, and I was overwhelmed. I worked full-time and raised 4 children. Story 69. Like my entire being is a rug composed of my personality, interests, passion, and sense of desire. Occasionally, that rug gets pulled out from underneath me. Story 70. Having no desire to engage in your favorite hobbies, sometimes losing the ability to eat or sleep, waking up in the middle of the night from bad dreams that contribute to your depression. I lost 30 pounds in about a month when I was at my worst. Took all my effort to wake up in the morning. I am grateful for the medication that helps alleviate the symptoms. Some days are challenging, but most are no longer terrible. Story 71. An oppressive darkness weighs down from inside my chest. The breath of life becomes a struggle. Story 72. Laziness can manifest as feeling mentally exhausted and irritable frequently. It may lead to a sense of sluggishness and a lack of motivation to engage in tasks or initiate new activities. Story 73. It feels dull to me, like everything is just unexciting. Even intimacy feels uninteresting. Doing my favorite hobby feels uninspiring. However, spending all day hiding in my favorite video game isn't tiresome. It induces anxiety when I'm trying to sleep while contemplating my life choices, like playing a video game all day instead of cleaning or preparing dinner for my family. I do manage to go to work and perform well. I think I can do that because I put on a mask and become someone else all day, much like what happens when I play video games. I'm a girl, by the way, a 54-year-old one. Story 74. Heavy nothingness feels like a weight dropped onto my chest, as rising water fills up all around me. If I take a single breath, everything will fade to nothing. Story 75. Cold, gray, and exhausting. Everything loses its color or becomes dull. I always need a sweater, socks, and a blanket because I just can't get warm. My body is always tired and sluggish. Even sitting upright feels like too much work. I never experienced depression until I had my baby, and there is a whole month of being home with him that I just don't remember, except for the overwhelming sadness and disappointment I felt in myself. Story 76. Feeling like a loser most of the time, where nothing seems enough, every action and every aspect of your life are not enough to fulfill your dreams. Story 77. Not wanting to get out of bed or interact with anyone, I feel like disappearing quietly so that everything goes away. Feels like pure nothingness, as if I am in a dark void. Story 78. For me, it feels like I really want to go home, but I'm already at home, lying in my bed. Is this what being homesick is? Where is it that I want to go? Everywhere I go, I feel like this, as if I'm rotting in my bed. I just want to go home. Story 79. I am currently experiencing a depressive episode. Feels like I have a dull pain in my chest, my face feels heavy with a frown, and my head feels too heavy for my shoulders. Nighttime brings a false sense of energy, while daylight brings lethargy. I feel no interest in my hobbies. I am not hungry and have no idea what I have done at work for the past 2 or 3 weeks. I am simply tired but can't sleep, and nobody understands. I am genuinely frustrated about it, but I lack the mental capacity to feel frustrated at the same time. Nevertheless, I believe this will pass. Story 80. Depression often feels like a desire to isolate and stay in a dark room without eating, doing only the bare minimum. It can feel as if I am already dead, yet somehow still moving and functioning, not truly myself but like a spectator in my own life. I see others, but it doesn't matter because I feel lifeless. At times, depression embodies a deep, empty void, a longing to be understood or to find a missing part of myself, foolishly believing it exists. This longing brings sorrow, as I struggle to find a sense of belonging. Sometimes, it feels like I am simply waiting for an endless clock to run out. There are moments when I want to cry until the hollowness within me is released. Depression can also fill me with an overwhelming sense of empathy, but not in a positive way. I get lost in thoughts about the vast suffering in the world, from plants and insects to animals and humans. The weight of this suffering fills me with sadness, as I wish I could magically eliminate it, much of which seems preventable if not for selfishness and greed. Story 81. It feels like a heavy weight in my chest that is dragging me down. Moving is so difficult, and I can't cry or laugh. I just exist. Story 82. I was diagnosed with adjustment disorder with anxiety and depression in May 2024. Depression, like how I am feeling at this moment, is almost a constant underlying feeling of wanting to be upset. It doesn't really matter how much I remind myself of the things I am grateful for in life. It doesn't stop me from feeling sad. Some days are more severe than others. I can still function today, so it's more of an inconvenience than anything. On other days, when the feelings are more intense, they override my ability to function normally. I won't be able to concentrate or do what is expected of me. An additional challenge of this disorder is the mood swings. When I'm not dealing with depression, it can flip to anxiety or anger. Each day feels like a bit of a lucky dip, as I'm not sure how I'm going to feel. I do look forward to the day in the future when I wake up and feel happy again. Unfortunately, I don't think it will be anytime soon, considering my current ongoing situation, which continues to trigger my diagnosis and symptoms. Story 83. The weight of the world is pressing down on you. You may struggle to find joy in most things and feel hesitant to go out in public due to fears of others noticing how empty you feel inside. Story 84. Nothing is exciting. I don't want to do anything or go anywhere. I can barely function. Bathing and general hygiene are hard to manage. I ignore calls and texts and hardly eat, despite feeling weak from not eating. I wish to die every single day and fight that feeling every second. I wish I was dead. Story 85. Lack of interest in anything. Extremely quick temper. No patience. Intense guilt for not being productive or being able to do anything else beyond keeping my children and myself alive for the day. Story 86. The one time I was seriously depressed, I was taken aback by how debilitating it was. I didn't want to wake up. All I wanted to do was sleep to escape the sadness. I tried powering through by exercising, but my legs felt heavy and didn't want to move. I felt drained and exhausted all the time. I felt like I was falling into a dark pit. Story 87. Always tired. I want to do things but end up procrastinating. I cry out of the blue, and my brain is in constant chaos. Story 88. I often feel a pressure on my chest. It makes me feel sluggish and anxious, wanting to do something yet lacking the energy or motivation to do anything other than sit in a chair and watch videos or endlessly scroll through content. It's not that I want to die. I just don't want to live like this. It's like an endless spiral. I feel like I've accomplished nothing in the last 10 years. Time just passes me by, and I can't get it back. When I think about how different my life could be if I weren't hindered by this frustrating depression, it makes me angry. Story 89. Feeling like I am in a hole I can't get out of. Everything hurts, even my hair. My whole body is in pain. Story 90. Being numb emotionally yet quickly bursting into tears. Feeling exhausted just from getting dressed. Either having no appetite or needing to buy a fridge full of groceries again. No cooking and then still feeling bad about ordering takeout. Feeling like an annoyance or burden to everyone around me. Story 91. Numbness. I don't feel emotions, really. It's very rare now. There is no excitement even though I know I should be excited. I just can't feel it. I don't really cry unless I'm watching a movie or show that truly resonates. I don't feel empathy. I feel nothing. Life feels very different compared to before depression, and I long for the past. Nostalgia also affects me deeply. A smell that brings me back to elementary school crushes me. A smell that reminds me of my grandma crushes me. Story 92. Thank you for this post and all the replies. It was a good read. I'm here with you and have been for years. I've pushed it down mostly, but yes, it's a heavy burden. God bless us all. Story 93. What I dislike about it is how overwhelming it makes me feel. My personality is generally positive, loving, energetic, and witty. I am usually always laughing and making jokes. When I experience depression, I just don't want to exist. I don't feel like myself at all. Nothing matters and I don't enjoy anything. I find it distressing and wouldn't wish it on anyone. Story 94. When I was 15, I described it to my doctor as, I feel like I'm on a train watching my life go past, but nothing I do changes anything. I can't feel anything. I can only watch. Story 95. Getting stuck in the past. Realizing that the best days of my life will never happen again. Knowing that I have to work 5 days a week for the rest of my life at the same challenging jobs because of my 11 felonies. Watching my dad die from cancer right in front of my eyes. Visiting both my grandmothers in a nursing home and they don't even remember who I am. Seeing my mom drink herself to sleep every night. Having a 1-year-old daughter whom I barely get to see because of my addiction. All of that makes me not want to keep going. Story 96. Feeling like I'm drowning but can't escape while simultaneously pulling a loaded dump truck behind me on my best days. On my worst days, the truck is loaded and I feel like I'm fighting to get to the light where there's air, but I never can reach it. Story 97. It feels like no matter what is happening, you are with the love of your life on a tropical beach. You are watching your favorite movie. Sleeping, eating, breathing all feels the same. Story 98. I have experienced different emotions depending on the episode. I have had depression for over 20 years now. It is challenging, but there are two constant experiences. One, feeling absolutely nothing, numb, not even sadness, just emptiness. Feeling like I am in a hole, and no matter how hard I try to get out of it, I find myself back at the bottom. Story 99. I feel like everyone around me is negatively judging me. I feel like a failure without direction or hope. I feel nervous and paranoid. I tend to seclude myself from others. I don't want anyone to see me in this frail state, even if they can't actually see any of it. This usually comes with the feeling that I'm not adding any value or improving, and I don't know where to turn or how to solve the problem or even how to define it. I feel helpless and weak. When I feel this way, my mind begins a never-ending cycle of thoughts that I can't suppress or control. Trying to reason with these thoughts is exhausting and unproductive. If left untreated for long enough, I start making plans to end the pain and suffering that is my life. If I can get a moment of relief, I typically start practicing mindfulness and do breathing exercises to help bring me into the moment and ease my nerves. This practice helps. It might take months or years of repeated effort, but eventually I get to a place where I can act like a real person again. When I'm stable, life is easier. I exercise, eat well, have good jobs, and enjoy healthy relationships. The problem is that the process typically repeats itself about every 5 years. I have lost so much time to this illness that I will never get back. It's really quite sad and awful. I fear that one day I'll be too exhausted and finally give up. Story 100. It made me hate everything but mostly myself. Occasionally, I would hear random voices or see things like spiders that weren't there. All I could think about was death. Everything was dark. Feeling physical pain distracted me, which is why I would purposefully do so. Story 101. It feels like standing in the middle of a busy four-way intersection with no desire to move, hoping someone will finally come along and end it all. Story 102. I dislike the way things are, but I have no motivation to change. I always remember that the last time I tried to make changes in my life, a pandemic started and disrupted everything I was doing, such as going to the gym and starting a new career. Story 103. My entire body feels hot and heavy. It is hard to breathe, and everything feels like a task. I don't know what I want for myself and can't make any decisions on my own because I honestly don't care about anything. If I died, I wouldn't even care. I'm not suicidal, but I wouldn't care if I died. Story 104. It feels like a bear I have to keep outrunning. Sometimes I can maintain a good pace. Other times, life happens and I slow down, allowing the bear to catch up. Story 105. Not feeling anything is like your emotions received an everlasting numbness. For me, feeling sad, angry, or hopeless was a better stage because I still had feelings that were influenced by things. Not feeling any emotion is truly the scariest experience because you struggle to find a reason to live. Story 106. People can be draining for me, and this feeling is heightened as I lose my motivation. Everyone experiences depression differently. Mine has never reached the point of suicidal thoughts. However, working for a suicide hotline has taught me that there is no one-size-fits-all solution. A good indicator that I am depressed is when I become messy and my house gets dirty. Even showering can become a difficult task. Story 107. Like Christmas is just a boring Sunday. Christmas was always a day I loved. When I started feeling depressed, I lost that feeling completely. Story 108. I don't feel anything because I've learned to push it away, ignore it, or live in denial about it. It's my old friend that I have lost touch with, but I still have distant mixed feelings about it. Story 109. A deep sense of not having energy to do anything, including feeling. I feel tired all the time. A truck could be coming my way and I wouldn't move, not because I'm suicidal, but because I don't have the energy to move and I don't care. Realistically, I would move out of the way because I care about not committing suicide. Please stay safe, everyone. As I mentioned and as others have shared, I do have a profound sense of not caring on a deep level. I remember reading about stoicism and thinking, oh, people have to try to do that? I can get over things quickly because I don't care. Some of this might be natural. I've always been this way as a kid. However, This feeling of not caring builds up to be deeply painful and obviously unhealthy. While I don't care, I am also in a type of deep pain these days. Depression is very lonely. Absolutely no one understands you. It is lonely, painful, and tiring. You're stuck, alone. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.